All right then, so let's go over as promised what we went over in class. Two of the scales, we're going to do left hand. We talked about that were kind of new to us and different for us. That was that F scale that has a B flat, but it's played like on our left hand regular way of 5 4 3 2 1 3 2 1. So let's take a look. There's the B flat. Then we cross middle. That was the F scale. And then we did the B scale, which is a different hand position than what we're used to. We're used to 5 4 3 2 1 3 2 1, but for the sake of having our fingers land where they need to on these black keys, because we have 5 black keys on the B scale, well, we're going to do 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1. We talked about the peace sign. There's 2 black keys and then our threesies. Remember that? That's going to help us get through this B scale. So we start on B with our 4, not our 5, our 4. 4, there's your peace sign on the black keys. We play the E. Then we pull the 4 3 2 on the black keys. 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1. Again, B scale. A little different, but we can do this. Peace sign. Then 4 3 2 is on the threesies. And on B. Okay. Now we were talking about how confusing ledger lines were, and then we realized we've been playing ledger lines. Look, when we were learning that G, we were learning the C position back whenever we were doing the C chord and the G7, where G7 took us to a ledger line. And remember, I talked to you about how you're kind of crossing over that C and you're going into another register, like where we would normally play our left hand, or vice versa with the right hand. And I said we were trespassing into the other territory. So our thumb drops down under that middle C to the B. Okay? And that's a ledger line. That's what ledger lines are about. And what it looks like is, we got our C position, but then when we drop down to the G7, we're under the middle C, where we would normally have our left hand. Right? It's not that it has to be, but that's what ledger lines are about, okay? We talked about not only on that page, just giving examples of ledger lines, but we talked about it also on when the saints go marching in. Look at those ledger lines right there. That's your G7 with your right hand, right? And then we talked about, of course, ledger lines going into with the left hand when we talked about the G position. That G position pulls us up into that upper register a little bit. Look at those ledger lines. There's that middle C, but that thumb is on D, which is above. See, it's above the middle C. So that ledger line takes us to that D. And it gets a little confusing, but not really. It makes sense at the end of the day. See, the ledger lines there, those are D's. Our thumb stays there. But our left, the note under it moves. Middle C, B, A, G. And what it would look like, see how I'm up on that? I done crossed over into that other territory, see? Usually your right hand might play what that middle C is in that D. But here, what I just showed you, that thumb is staying on that ledger line. Okay? So that we're not going to let the ledger lines defeat us. We're not going to do it. And then I wanted you to go back over pages. We talked about this G position, and it flew. It like moved us somewhere else. So here's those ledger lines again, where we're up on that D. And then we talked about with the left hand, we stretched that pinky down to that F sharp on the D7, which is it could feel a little different. So let's look at it. G position, look. And you said, well, how do we know it's the higher G? Because with the ledger line, we're crossing over into that territory again. Remember? That's how I know it's a higher G instead of us being way down here. So we're crossing up into that, I call it right-hand territory, but it's really the middle C upper register. Okay? And so we would play that G position. Then the D7, we stretch to the pinky. G position, D7. Same with the right hand. We're getting into these ledger lines, okay? So on page 60, we did a little bit of work with our right and left hand. Now, what's so funny about it, we're not doing ledger lines with the right hand, but we got our thumb on the black key. And that was one of my things I said we try not to do, but I I was wrong. There are always exceptions. So when we play the G and D7, we play that D7 chord, our thumb is going to be on F sharp on a black key. Isn't that different for us? Yes. And how that would look is we're up higher, remember? We're up higher. So we've got this. Now watch. Look at my thumb. Isn't that something? So Miss Robin lied. We are going to play. Sometimes use our. Okay. So we got to get used to that. But we can do it. And then work on the harp song. We talked about broken chords, or I'll call them arpeggios, up to the ledger line. G, B, D. And then the higher G, B, D. G, B, D, G, B, D. And then F sharp, that's your D7, F sharp, C, ledger line D, and left, and then right hand with the thumb on the F sharp, C, D. So you're kind of playing the same thing as each hand is copying what the other hand is doing, okay? That's on the harp song. And then you had already started on page 62, where you were writing in the chords. And we can use this as a reference, but we're kind of knowing. There's that ledger lines again where we're up on D, past the middle C. G chord, D7, G chord, 2, D7, 2 Gs, 2 D7s, 3 Gs, okay? And then we play them. So once we name them, because that's what sheet music does. And it helps, like if you have a guitarist, they can just, or anybody else accompanying or in an ensemble, they can look at those chords that are written up on sheet music. They don't have to read note for note. They can just play the chords, okay? So that's why you see that a lot of times in sheet music. Same here. We're going to do with the right hand, G and D7. G chord, D7, G, and on and on. Then we're going to play it. All right? All right. Let me know if you have any questions. You did a great job.